Chests. They're the core of progression to Clash Royale. Over the years, many chests have been added to Clash Royale and on many occasions, removed as well. A player will earn a chest after winning a battle and can hold up to 4 at a time. Each chest varies in the number of cards and gold it will give you. Whenever a super rare chest is awarded to the player, it can feel special and even make their day. But throughout Clash Royale's history, new forms of progression have been added, and there have been alternative ways to earn chests other than winning battles and earning crowns. As Clash Royale evolves, the system of progression will inevitably need updating, and the chests' place in the game will shift as a result. So let's go back to the very beginning and observe the early impact of chests in Clash Royale, how the progression system developed, and how it changed into the form that it's currently in today. When Clash Royale was first released, there were only 6 chests: Silver, Gold, Giant, Magical, Crown, and Free. Only these 4 were obtainable in battles. The chest you received would not be random. There was a chest cycle. A chest cycle was 240 chests long, and from each one, you would get 160 silver, 54 gold, 3 giant, and 3 magical chests. You could also buy extra silver, gold, and magical chests from the shop with gems. The free chest, like the name implies, was free. You could collect one every 4 hours, of which didn't take up any chest slots, and gave about the same rewards as a silver chest. This chest was necessary originally because it would cost gold to enter battles, so in case you ended up in a situation where your chest slots were empty and you didn't have enough gold to enter battles to earn any, the free chest would give you a little bit so that you could hop back into battle. But the crown chest was unlike any of the other ones because you didn't need to win battles to earn them, but instead earn 10 crowns, of which one was given each time a player destroyed an opponent's tower. A crown chest would only be obtainable every 24 hours though, so you couldn't just farm crowns for unlimited chests. However, since you could only earn 3 crowns maximum per battle, it meant that you would have to play a minimum of 4 battles just to unlock one. But it would likely take you at least 5 to 6 battles to earn one, since a lot of games would be 1 to 2 crown victories, or you would just lose or draw, not earning any crowns. Considering the only way to earn these crowns was to play ladder matches, it could be a pain to get one every day, but it was worth it for most players because they were basically a bonus gold chest. It didn't even take up any slots, and they contained gems, of which only this and the free chest contained. They didn't contain very many gems, but this was the only way to earn gems in the game without spending money, of which could be used to buy better chests if you saved up enough of them. The content of a chest was partially determined by what arena you were in. Higher arenas mean more cards and gold, but since there were only 6 arenas back in the early days instead of 23 like we do today, the highest arena chests comparatively were much worse than what a legendary arena player is used to. Comparing the highest chests from January 2016 to today, a silver chest used to not guarantee any rare cards, whereas today it guarantees at least 3. A gold chest would only guarantee 2 rare cards, and a magical chest would only guarantee 2 epics and 15 rares. Clearly, top arena chests are far worse in January 2016 than today. It's not even close. But remember, there were fewer card levels and far fewer cards in the game during this time. Still though, even with fewer cards and levels, progression was much slower in the early days because chests were the only way to progress. Except for requests, I guess, but Epic Sunday wasn't even a thing yet. Nowadays, we have Clan Wars, challenges, the Season Shop, free gifts, global tournaments, Trophy Road, masteries, and even Victory Gold to progress. None of these features existed originally. In February 2016, chests would actually receive a nerf. The amount of gold in chests was simply being reduced. This was an overall rework to the game because in this same patch, the cost to enter a battle was waived. If this rework actually benefited the player could be argued. On the one hand, you could play as much as you wanted without draining your resources, so if you played with your chest slots full, it wouldn't be a waste. On the other hand, if you were winning an average of 50% of your battles and only played when you had an open slot, you would actually be worse off than before. It did only cost a few pieces of gold to battle. 6 pieces of gold is the most you'd ever have to pay. It really wasn't a huge drain. And if you were someone who just bought chests from the shop, you were taking a big hit from this change because your gems were essentially worth less now. However, one benefit that came with this update was a new arena. As new arenas were added, chests rewards would scale up with them, but a lot of people were still unhappy with the recent chest nerfs because the changes really only benefited those who played a lot. So 1 week after this nerf, Supercell buffed the rewards of Arena 3 through 7 chests, with the catch being that the price of these chests were being increased in the shop. Most players didn't buy chests from the shop, so changes made to them weren't a huge problem for the majority. But only a few weeks after this, the shop would be getting a major overhaul. On February 29th, gold and silver chests were removed from the shop. As a replacement, the giant chest would now be available to purchase with gems for the first time, as well as a new chest, the super magical chest, being purchasable as well. The super magical chest was the new best chest in the game, containing the most loot of any chest. As a natural consequence, it was the most expensive chest in the shop, pricing at a whopping 4,600 gems. For some further context, the best value of gems a player could get is 14,000 for $100, meaning each of these chests at the best value would cost a player $32.86. You could get these chests for free from battle, but they would only appear in 1 in 1,000 battles. If you opened an average 4 chests per day, this would take 250 days of grinding for one. So in this stage of the game, most players would never get to experience the super magical chest. But this update came alongside one significant addition, the introduction of legendary cards. Legendaries were a special rarity that was not guaranteed in any chest, not even the super magical chest. But any chest could give you a legendary. This was partially determined by a chest's legendary factor. The legendary factor stat was added alongside legendaries, and the lower this number was, the greater chance a legendary would appear in that chest. Even though magical chests and super magical chests shared the same legendary factor, the chances of receiving a legendary from a super magical chest was still much greater because the chances were also determined by the total number of cards a chest contained, and no chest contained nearly as many cards as the super magical chest. Using this formula, we can calculate the chances of getting a legendary right when super magical chests were released was about 15%. Meaning, if you spent $100 on gems at the best rate, you likely wouldn't even get one. And you needed 86 legendaries to max out each of the two. Legendaries ultimately made maxing impossible for those who didn't spend tens of thousands of dollars, and progression was only going to become harder when the team eventually added more cards. Even for a free-to-play mobile game, it was ridiculous. This update did add another arena, so the legendary arena chests were buffed slightly as well, but it hardly made up for the fact that 6 new cards were added, each of which required hundreds of chests worth of resources to max out. This brings us to May of 2016, where one of the biggest progression buff updates in Clash Royale history would arrive. Seeing that 6 more cards were coming on top of the 6 that were just added a few months prior, and that the progression system was already super slow, Supercell knew they had to make some changes to make it easier for their players. And boy, did they make a lot. Now magical chests and giant chests would appear 4 times in a 240 chest cycle instead of 3, and super magical chests would appear in 1 in 500 chests instead of 1 in 1,000. Plus, the contents of crown chests were doubled, essentially making it twice as good as a gold chest. Some non-chest related progression buffs included reducing the total number of epics required for a level 8 epic from 300 to 200, increasing the number of cards that could be requested in higher arenas, removing level 6 legendaries, ultimately decreasing the number of legendaries you need to max out by 50, making legendaries purchasable with gold, and finally adding a victory gold reward for winning a battle. This last change came with a catch, however, decreasing the gold in most chests by 20%. With 6 new cards coming alongside these progression buffs, it was very hard for players to max out their cards, especially those of the higher rarities, but at least it was getting better. A few months later, in July 2016, another new chest would be added to the game, the tournament chest. This came alongside the new tournaments feature. If you placed in the top 20% of a tournament, you would get a tournament chest. The chest's contents would vary depending on the player's placement and how many gems the tournament costs to create. Most of them were disappointing, only containing a few cards. But if you could get a high placement, then the chest could be better than a super magical chest. The top tournament chest, from a tournament that cost 250,000 gems to create, or about $1,800 contained 15,000 cards, 22 times what the highest super magical chest would give you. It guaranteed 500 epics, 3,000 rares, and 10 legendaries. But unlike a super magical chest which took 24 hours to unlock, this one took 2 weeks. Given the circumstances, very few players would ever be able to open this chest. Unfortunately, earning chests from tournaments was eventually removed, but just knowing this was in the game at all and was accessible still baffles players to think about to this day. In September 2016, Grand and Classic challenges were added, but unlike usual challenges, players could enter them as much as they wanted, and they were permanent. The more wins you got, the greater your final chest reward would be. If you could consistently get 3 wins or more, this was easily the best gem value you could get at the time. It was a nice opportunity to give skilled players who were low spenders a chance to progress fast without having to spend as much. Some players didn't have the time to play dozens of grand challenges and preferred to mass open hundreds of dollars of chests in the shop, so this addition helped low spenders to get on a more even playing field as the big spenders. 2 more chests were added in September as well, the Epic and Legendary chest. Epic and Legendary cards were extremely difficult to level up, and with so many cards of those rarities being added throughout the year, a way to obtain more of them was definitely necessary. What made these chests unique was that they would not contain any gold, and they would only contain cards of a single rarity. Given their names, I think it's pretty easy to figure out which chests contain cards of which rarity. Epic chests would contain 10 epics, and legendary chests would guarantee 1 legendary. A chest that guaranteed the player a legendary was nothing like we had seen before. It was exciting for the time. This chest even had a unique factor that it was not arena dependent. A legendary chest could give you a legendary from any arena, even the ones you haven't reached yet. Although these chests would only appear once in 500 chests on average, special offers would occasionally appear which would allow players to buy 1 legendary chest for 500 gems. A much better deal than spending 9 times that amount for the chance of getting a legendary. Epic chests would also appear as an offer occasionally for 10,000 gold. Later in the year though, epic chests would be buffed to scale per arena, so now 10 epics was the minimum it could give with a maximum of 20. Finally, in December 2016, 1 more chest would be added to Clash Royale, which would go on to be one of the most beloved chests in the game's history, the Clan Chest. This chest was earned by collecting crowns as a clan. Before this chest was added, clans were essentially just a chat room with card requests. This chest would have multiple tiers and was distributed based on how many crowns your clan collected. Every other week, clans would need to collectively earn 3,250 crowns in a span of 7 days, meaning in a clan of 50 people, each player needed to collect about 9¼ crowns per day. Basically, if everyone was getting their crown chests, they would be fine. The clan chest was definitely worth grinding for because at the max level, it would guarantee 5 epics and 52 rares with a total of 525 cards, which made it significantly better than a magical chest. Being able to earn 2 of these per month was a huge buff to progression. Players loved the clan chest. The following month, however, the clan chest rewards would be halved, and the number of days players had to grind for it was lowered to 3. To balance this out, the total number of crowns required to complete a clan chest was lowered from 3,250 to 1,600, and now clan chests would arrive every week instead of every other week. Players weren't crazy about this change at the time, but ultimately it wasn't a huge deal. The amount of grinding to proportion of rewards was almost exactly the same. In March 2017, the chest became easier to grind for thanks to crowns and challenges finally counting towards your chests. And in this update, yet another chest would be added to help players out, the Draft Chest. A chest where you're given sets of rewards to choose from. You pick one and the other gets thrown away. Each player who made it to a legendary league would get one at the end of a season, and the higher league you made it to, the better draft chest you would get. It was nice because it was awarded based on the highest league you made it to, not the one you finished in, so you weren't punished for taking that risk of continuing to play when you were on the verge of dropping leagues. These chests were really good. In the highest league, they would guarantee the opener 250 rares, 50 epics, and a legendary. Some of the higher ones even had a chance of containing 2 legendaries in a single chest, which is something that was not possible in any other chest, except the tournament chest of course, but hardly anyone ever got to open one good enough to contain 2 or more legendary cards. This chest was something nice to look forward to for the end of every season. Most players were able to push high enough so that they could guarantee a legendary card every month, which was huge for the time. Overall, with all the recent chest additions, frequent challenges, and 11 arenas in the game, progression was much better than it was a year ago, even though it was still a huge grind. But there was a major problem that was becoming very prominent around this time. A lot of players saw that they were able to upgrade a lot of their cards, but needed hundreds of thousands of gold just to use them up. This problem of players not having enough gold would be a persistent problem going into the future, so much that Supercell would attempt on multiple occasions to rectify the issue. The first of these attempts would come in May of 2017, where magical, giant, and super magical chests would receive a buff. Up to this point, each chest would contain 5 to 7 times the amount of gold than cards. The May change made it so that it would be a fixed amount, always giving 7 times the amount of golden cards that were in the chest. Basically, what was the maximum before would become the standard. Although this was a nice change, it certainly wasn't enough to rectify this growing issue. The following month, Supercell would increase the gold of the magical chest by another 43% and the super magical chest by 29%. The giant chest, however, would be getting a rework. The gold would be decreased by a whopping 63%, as well as the total number of cards being reduced by 13%. To compensate, the total number of rare cards would be increased by 75%. None of these changes made huge differences for the casual players, since most players would open 1 or 2 of these chests a month if they were lucky. It really only made a difference if you were mass opening chests in the shop. Even though Supercell was giving a lot more rewards by now than they originally were, it was still getting harder to max cards out because Supercell just kept adding so many. In just the time frame of the launch of Clash Royale through the end of 2017, Supercell more than doubled the number of cards in the game, meaning it required twice as many resources to max an account in 2017 versus 2016. The amount of rewards a player received was increasing over time, but it simply wasn't keeping up with the constant release of new cards. Every time a card was released, players were farther from maxing their account. This made some players upset when new cards were released. They knew hundreds of chests worth of resources were going to have to be spared for each and every one. Even though a player could choose not to upgrade a card, they would start receiving that card instead of the cards they actually wanted, making it take longer to level up cards they did want to focus on. On the plus side, in the summer of 2017, there would be a summer of 2v2 event, where players could play 2v2 as much as they wanted. It was completely casual, and the benefit was that you would earn chests from winning battles. This stress-free experience of being able to fill your chest slots was really nice because it meant people could keep a consistent chest flow without dropping trophies, even if they were too tired to perform at their best. It was only temporary, but a few months after it was removed, it would soon come back permanently. In October 2017, we got another huge update Clash players had been waiting for ages: quests. Simple tasks any player could achieve with a few minutes of playing to earn a small reward in addition to a new currency, quest points. These quest points would go towards a chest decided by the game. This system had its own unique chest cycle. It was only 12 chests long, and although the order of which you would receive them was basically random, you would always receive 5 gold chests, 2 giant chests, 2 magical chests, 1 super magical chest, 1 legendary chest, and 1 epic chest per cycle. To get through a whole chest cycle, you would need 2,700 quest points. You could get up to 20 points a day, unless you discarded your free rewards quest after collecting some of the rewards. But for simplicity purposes, let's say you got 20 points a day, because that's what most people could get and were supposed to get. This meant it would take you 135 days to get through the entire cycle, which is a while, but remember this was on top of the chests you were earning from battle already. The Epic Quests update just allowed casual players to open premium chests more often. There was one small catch though. Unfortunately, the quest slot took the place of the free chest slot, meaning there was no free chest for players every 4 hours anymore. They were worked into the free rewards section of quests, but you couldn't open 6 a day like before. If you did get free chests, you would only get 3. It was a bummer because free chests were a big source of gems for those who didn't spend money, and so players felt like quests ultimately took away something good. A free chest has essentially the same contents as a silver chest, so it may not sound like much. But remember, if you're only getting half of the free chest you would get with the old system, that's essentially 405 of them you're giving up over the 135 days it will take you to complete one quest chest cycle. A free chest did guarantee a rare card in the higher arenas now, so that means you were missing out on 405 rare cards and 1,755 total cards. These numbers are a bit dramatic though, because most players didn't collect all 6 free chests every day. For you to do that, you could never be away from the game for more than 8 hours at a time. Plus, most players did cancel their free chest quest after collecting 2 and starting another quest, which allowed them to collect 30 quest points a day. There's lots of variation I could cover here, but to put it simply, quests weren't as beneficial as they first appeared. Only a few months later, another giant update would come to Clash Royale, which made some huge changes to chests and progression. We would get 3 new chests. The Lightning Chest, which let you strike cards to change them to another random card of the same rarity. The Fortune Chest, which let you see what you were likely going to get before you opened it. And the Legendary King's Chest, which was similar to a draft chest but always contained a legendary. Not only were these chests coming to the game, they were replacing the giant, magical, and super magical chests in the shop, and they would not be possible to obtain from the normal chest cycle. However, the Lightning and Legendary King's chest would be obtainable through quests. If you were somebody that bought gems and mass opens chests, this was really good for you, because unlike the Super Magical chest, which only almost had a legendary in it, the Legendary King's chest guaranteed a legendary card for almost half the price. And better yet, it was easier to get the one you wanted because you always had a choice. Also at the time of this update, the quest system was revamped. Free rewards would now always be available alongside a normal quest and wouldn't be cancelable anymore. There would always be 3 free rewards a day, giving 5 quest points for each one, meaning a player could consistently obtain 35 quest points every day. A chest cycle would now be 41 chests instead of 12, giving this many of each chest per cycle. In total, you needed 9,750 quest points to complete a cycle, which would take 279 days at 35 points a day. 2018 had some massive changes to progression, some for better and some for worse. To many players' disappointment, the clan chest would be removed in April 2018. The weekly clan chest event was being replaced with Clan Wars. A war would last for 2 days. At the end of a Clan War season, players would receive a chest based on the highest placement their clan got in the wars they participated in. A first place Legendary League chest would guarantee the player a legendary card, 15 epics, and 126 rares, making it significantly better than the old clan chest. Along with the victory gold and the war bounties that would come later, it was just an overall great boost to progression. A couple of months later in June 2018, a bunch of chests would get reworked. All of these chests would have more gold, some would give more epics, and there were some rare card distribution adjustments. Despite all this extra gold flowing through the economy, it still wasn't enough. The problem of players having way too many cards to upgrade with no gold to upgrade them with had only been getting worse. One more significant change would come to Clash Royale this year in December. The Super Magical chest was being removed and replaced with the Mega Lightning chest. Some might consider this to be an upgrade to the Super Magical chest rather than a replacement, because the chests were identical in terms of the rewards they gave. The Mega Lightning chest, however, like the Lightning chest, would allow players to strike cards away they didn't want. The Mega Lightning chest gave the player 8 strikes instead of the usual 5. In terms of the chest cycles, the Mega Lightning chest simply replaced the Super Magical chest wherever it was previously. Also in December, we got global tournaments, which gave players rewards based on how many wins they got. The rewards varied for the first few tournaments, but eventually the standard became a Lightning chest at 12 wins for free, but if you forked over 500 gems after getting 15 wins or more, you would get all of these chests, which was the best value for your gems that we've ever seen. 2019 is when we would get some really interesting adjustments to progression though. The first major change was the introduction of Trophy Road. You could collect some chests from this, which was nice, but there was one very unpopular change Supercell made, which was removing the draft chest. Now players would no longer get a draft chest based on how high they pushed each season. Every time you pushed to a new league, you would get a 24-hour chest boost, which halved the amount of time it would take for you to open your chests. And this would reset every season. This meant most players could get 6 to 7 chest boosts a month with a max of 9. If fully utilized, this could speed up your chest cycle by more than 25%. Draft chests would still occasionally appear in special offers afterwards, but would eventually disappear forever. Overall, this was technically a buff to progression, as Supercell rightfully claimed, but a lot of the Trophy Road rewards were not obtainable for players because only a handful of people could reach the higher trophy ranges. This update just made ladder pushing much more grindy and less fulfilling without that final reward to motivate. Now we're gonna jump all the way to the introduction of Clash Royale in July. Crown chests were being reworked into tiers per season. Instead of getting 1 per day, which would lead to 30 to 31 per month, we would now get 34 a month with a bonus legendary chest at the final tier. It also gave the benefit to where you didn't have to play every day to get all your crown chests. If you missed a couple of days, you could make them up later in the season now. And if you bought the pass, you would get exclusive access to these 4 chests by completing tiers. These were all lightning chests. You have this version, which I call the mini version, a lightning chest that contained only rares, an epic lightning chest, and the final legendary chest would turn into a lightning legendary chest if you had the pass. In addition, you would get 1 strike for each and every crown chest you opened, and you could queue a chest to begin opening automatically when the one you were currently unlocking finished. making it easier to flow through your chest cycle efficiently. By the end of 2019, we also got the Party mode, which was a circulation of casual game modes which players could earn chests from. This meant there was finally a 1v1 casual option. 2019 overall gave the player more ways to obtain chests as well as more flexibility as to when they could obtain their crowns for the maximum number of crown chests, which is why many players would be quite upset when they saw what 2020 had to offer. 2020 was a pretty stale year for Clash Royale, but the game did receive one major update in August: Clan Wars 2. Clan Wars 2 gave more victory gold and gave the players a big chest every week instead of just at the end of a Clan Wars season. Also, a legendary would now be awarded to the first place clan no matter what league you were in. A lot of rewards were condensed into Clan Wars 2, and they were trying to push even more gold into the economy. Just by winning a few Clan War attacks a day, you could earn thousands of gold. But as Supercell themselves said it, they were condensing rewards into this new mode. Replacing the original Clan Wars wasn't enough. To compensate for the rewards they were giving, they would be removing quests, meaning there was no longer any way for players to renewably obtain Legendary King's Chest without spending gems. This took away a lot of premium chests that a casual player could obtain, which was definitely upsetting for a lot of people. Clan Wars 2 did have nice rewards, but required a lot more grinding to maximize your rewards than quests did. If you were a casual player or didn't have an amazing clan, this update probably slowed down your progress. Quests were simple and most could be completed within a few minutes. You also could hold up to 3 days worth of quests at a time. To maximize Clan Wars 2 rewards, you had to play 4 matches every single day, and originally there weren't even special game modes to play like the old Clan Wars. And if all of that wasn't bad enough, remember that quests were the only way to obtain free chests after the Epic Quest update, so with no more quests, there were no more free chests. Yup, in August 2020, free chests were essentially removed from the game. To compensate, a free reward would now be available in the shop every single day. This update was a bummer to most players, but Supercell would rectify at least part of it in the March 2021 Magic Items update. Magic items were great for progressing, and they would quickly start replacing chests left and right. All of the past Royale chests were permanently removed in exchange for magic items. The legendary chest in global tournaments was replaced with a legendary wildcard, as was the one in the past Royale freeze side. Magic items essentially made the legendary chest completely irrelevant, but they would still continue to appear in a player's chest cycle every 500 chests. In addition to the book magic item, which could give you all the cards you would need to level a card up, the magic items update made progression easier than ever. If you were a long-term player, even a fairly casual free-to-play one, you likely by now had almost all the cards in your account maxed out, if not all of them already, helped by the fact that they were drastically slowing down new card releases. And to make things even better, in the summer update later that year, Supercell would add gold crates, which came in 3 tiers, and they would be integrated into the chest cycle. These crates would only contain gold, no cards. And in the next major update, we would get 2 more chests, the more notable one being the Royal Wild chest, arguably one of the best they've ever added. This chest gave the player a lot of magic items, including a guaranteed legendary. And if you were level 14, you would get a guaranteed champion, which was the new highest rarity added in this same update. This chest was implemented into the chest cycle and was actually pretty common. With the implementation of gold crates and Royal Wild chests, the chest cycle was revamped, now containing 188 chests per cycle instead of 240, with this many of each chest per cycle, which means for every 94 chests you collected, one of them was a Royal Wild one, which is far more often than the other best chests in the game. If you were active, you could probably get 2 of these per month, in addition to one on the free side of Pass Royale. Including the other free legendary you could obtain, Clan Wars, challenges, and other chests you would obtain, it really wasn't uncommon now to be getting 6 or more legendaries a month, not including the Book of Books that was included in the $5 pass, giving you up to 20 more legendary cards. And if all of that wasn't enough, Supercell also added the Level Up chest, giving players a new bonus chest for each level they reached. This meant when the Champions update was released, active long-term players were able to instantly unlock 13 bonus chests, some of which would include guaranteed legendaries and a champion. Also, I wanted to mention that the Legendary King's chest got a significant buff, as it would now guarantee a champion and a wild legendary card, meaning it not just guaranteed a card of the new best rarity in the game, but also double the amount of legendaries it used to, with no raise in gem cost. I think Supercell ultimately regrets being this generous, as almost nothing I just described is how it is today. This was really the golden age in Clash Royale history to max out your account. It was basically only downhill from here. The next major update that made significant changes to chests and progression was a year later in October 2022. Another new chest was added, the Champion chest, which, similarly to the Legendary chest, gave the player only one card. But of course it was a champion. However, these chests would not be implemented into the chest cycle. Besides some temporary offers, the only way to get one was to push on the trophy road, of which would not reset every season anymore, meaning no player could get a renewable source of these chests. Also, because the trophy road didn't reset each season, players could not obtain a renewable source of chest boosts, drastically slowing players' chest cycles down by about a week for every month. Supercell also added king levels, which were now separate from tower levels, and if you reached tower level 42, silver chests would be completely removed from your chest cycle. This may sound beneficial at first because silver chests aren't great, but ultimately these were just replaced with more gold chests, which took nearly triple the time to unlock. This meant once you got high enough, it took significantly longer to get the good chests in your cycle. The chest cycle was overhauled again, now being 184 chests long at the highest level rather than 188, with the number of appearances of each chest being drastically changed. If you add up all the timers of the old chest cycle, it would take you 1052 hours to get through one, but after the October 2022 update, this number was increased to 1473, and remember the monthly chest boosts were gone now. Although removed from the chest cycle, silver chests could still be obtainable by any player, because Supercell added a new daily tasks feature, of which if a player completed all 3 tasks in a given day, they would get a silver chest as a reward. If a player completed all their tasks 7 days in a row, they would get an additional gold chest. Daily tasks were really just a watered down version of the long removed quest feature, but to maximize your rewards, you had to play every day now, and the rewards were far less appealing. With the new Path of Legends that came with this update, you could unlock some of the better chests by pushing high on there, but some of them were only one-time rewards, and it hardly made up for the slower chest cycle. In terms of progression, players were worse off than before this update, and it was only going to go downhill from here. In March 2023, Clash Royale would get its update for losers, and besides the unnecessary redesigns to some of the longer standing chests, including making the giant chest no longer giant, it would no longer be possible to obtain chests from casual game modes. That's right, in party mode and 2v2 matches, you would no longer get chests from winning battles. They were instead replaced with season tokens. Players were very unhappy about this, leading to Supercell reverting the change in the next update. But this update also removed the free Royal Wild Chest, Magic Book, and Legendary from the Pass Royale reward system for non-Pass Royale holders. Chests would also no longer appear in challenges, with all the rewards being nothing but the new season token currency, which couldn't even be traded in for chests. The card evolution update would be the last change to chests as of this video. To help players obtain even more gold, they would triple the amount of gold given in every chest in the game, including the gold crates. Due to level 15, which came at the same time and didn't require gold, it was ultimately another huge setback for progression. The Clash Royale chest and progression system is not the best it's ever been, but easily far from the worst. Just comparing the legendary arena chests of 2016 versus today really shows how much they've been buffed, but chests today aren't even really the main source of progression like they used to be. With so many other ways to obtain resources, it's merely one of several ways players progress nowadays. Fun fact about the free chest, even though it's been over 3 years since it's been obtainable, it's actually still in the game when you go into a specific arena's chest rewards. When they've added new arenas since the removal, they've still updated the rewards accordingly. It's a shame Supercell never found a way to re-implement them, but if they haven't completely removed them from the game yet, I wouldn't give up hope that eventually they'll find a place for them. Another fun fact is that 2023 is the first year Supercell did not add any new chests. When they were the main basis of progression, they would be the first to receive attention when trying to make progression changes. With them no longer being the only source of progression, it makes sense Supercell would focus their attention in other places of the game. The last thing I want to end off on was talking a little bit more about the legendary chest. Since the magic item update, it's felt outdated. Legendaries don't feel special to obtain anymore. Considering how rare the chest itself is, I feel like Supercell should simply keep the legendary chest for lower king levels and replace it with the unutilized champion chest once you reach a high enough king level. This chest has had a very interesting history of its own. There have been reported instances in 2018, 2019, and even 2022 of the chest giving cards that aren't even legendary cards, which must be heartbreaking, especially for the players who spent 500 gems on them. Personally though, I don't really find any chest to be exciting or interesting anymore, since everything I open turns into a blob of elite wild cards. I think it would be awesome if Supercell could occasionally drop random evolution shards into chests, but it seems like Supercell learned their lesson from 2021 of being too generous. But anyway, let me know your thoughts on the chest system and if changes should be made. Thank you all for listening, and I'll see you all in the next one.